"21st Precinct, Sergeant." "Inspector who?" "Oh, yes, sir, Inspector. The detail is assembling here." "I don't know, sir. Lieutenant King of the 21st Squad is in charge."
You're in the muster room at the 21st Precinct. The nerve setter. An important case is about to break. Superior officers have been notified. They're assembling from their homes, from social functions, from all over the city. You will follow the action taken pursuant to these notifications from this minute until the final report is written in the 124 room at the 21st Precinct.
"Yes, sir. The brass has all been notified. They can start out any time." "Yes, sir, any time now."
21st Precinct. It's just lines on a map of the city of New York. Most of the 173,000 people wedged into the 9/10 of a square mile between 5th Avenue and the East River wouldn't know if you asked them that they lived or worked in the 21st. Whether they know it or not, the security of their persons, their homes, and their property is my job. My job and the job of 160 patrolmen, 11 sergeants, and 4 lieutenants, of whom I'm the boss. My name is Kennelly, Frank Kennelly. I'm captain in command of the 21st. I'd been off duty since 6 o'clock. I was not due back at the station house until 4 p.m. the next afternoon, when I would work straight through until 8 the following morning. At 6:30, I met my wife at Frank and Norman's, a steakhouse on 54th Street near Broadway. We had dinner and took a cab to the 46th Street Theater to see the hit musical Guys and Dolls, an occasion we had both looked forward to for a year. The first act was fine.
Wonderful, Frank. That's wonderful. I love it.
Well, it's certainly been worth waiting for. You want a cigarette? We go down to the lounge.
All right.
I want to call in anyway. Oh, excuse us, please.
I'm sorry.
Pardon us, please. I beg your pardon. Thank you. Watch your step now, Ellen.
I feel like dancing up the aisle. Da-da-dee-da-dum-da-da. I can hardly wait for the second act.
Well, 10 minutes isn't such a long time. According to the Manual of Procedure, a precinct commander, although off duty, is never relieved of the responsibility of his command. Consequently, he's obliged to keep the desk officer informed regarding his whereabouts. If he's beyond the reach of a telephone, he's required to call in at frequent intervals to be notified of any matter that would require his attention. Ellen and I went downstairs to the theater lounge. I offered her a cigarette, lit one for myself. Then I stepped into the phone booth.
First Precinct, Sergeant.
There's Captain Kennelly, Sergeant.
Oh, hello, Captain. Good you called.
What have we got?
Well, you know those 3 guys who escaped from the federal penitentiary in Pennsylvania and robbed a bank in the Bronx?
Yeah?
Well, I think they got them spotted.
In the precinct?
Yes, sir. 611 East 67th Street. The information came to one of our men walking a post over there. Farrell.
Good. Are they sure it's them?
Well, they must be. The detectives are getting ready to hit the place.
I want you to notify division on it.
Yes, sir.
And put me through to Lieutenant King.
You got a couple of messages here, Captain.
Well, hold them till I get in, Sergeant.
Yes, sir. Hold on. I'll connect you upstairs. 21st Squad. Detective DeFeo.
Well, let me talk to Lieutenant King, please.
Lieutenant King's busy right now. Can I help you?
This is Captain Kennelly.
Oh, hold on, Captain. Captain Kennelly on 2. He's coming, Captain.
Okay.
Lieutenant King.
Hello, Matt. What do we got?
3 bank robbers, escaped convicts, holed up on East 67th Street.
Oh, how does it look?
It's them, Captain. Information came to one of your men, Johnny Farrell.
Yeah, I know. What time are you going to hit the place?
Late as possible, 4 or 5 a.m. probably.
All right, I'm coming in. I'll be there in 20 minutes.
I'll see you.
So long, man.
Frank, that took long enough.
Did it?
What happened? Did the roof fall in, as you always say?
Well, I got to go in, Ellen.
Oh, Frank.
Now, you stay and see the rest of the show.
It'll be over at 11 o'clock. Can't you stop by on your way home?
No, this is important. Here's the car check, honey. You know the garage is parked in on 53rd.
And what time do you think you'll be home?
Oh, I don't know. Haven't any idea. I'm sorry, honey. Sorry to have to ruin your evening.
Why can't it ever happen when we're not having a good time?
Beats me, honey. I'll see you at home.
Good night, Frank.
After 16 years in the job, Ellen was used to that sort of thing. She didn't complain. She just made the best of it. I went up to the street and flagged a cab to take me to the station house. Traffic across town was light. Cab had me in front of the station house in less than 10 minutes. I saw 2 patrol cars parked at the curb. One was ours, the other belonged to ESD. The street was quiet. I walked up the worn granite steps of the station house and into the muster room. At the desk, Lieutenant Gorman was booking a prisoner in the custody of a detective I didn't know. Suspect looked like an addict. The detective must have been from the narcotics squad. A half-dozen patrolmen were gathered in a group at the far end of the muster room, talking quietly. I walked over to the far end of the desk where Sergeant Klein was on the boxes.
Hello, Captain.
Who are those men, Sergeant?
Oh, them? They were sent in here from the 19th and 23rd on special detail. You know, for the raid. Excuse me, Captain.
Yep.
21st Precinct, Sergeant. Yeah, where are you? Well, listen, walk around the corner to 331 and see the super. He's called in here twice about a couple on the 3rd floor fighting and breaking the furniture. Yeah, okay, let me know.
Those men know what they're here for?
No, sir, not yet. That's what they're probably trying to figure out.
No, I don't want them standing around in here jabbering. Tell them to go into the back room.
Yes, sir. Now, listen, you men. Yes, Sergeant. Go on in the back room there and make yourselves comfortable. You'll be here a while yet.
Thanks a lot. You notify the division?
Yes, sir. I spoke to the division lieutenant. He'll get in touch with Chief DeAndrea. Those are the guys holed up there. That'll be a pretty good collar.
Yeah, it should be. What else is doing around here?
Oh, nothing much. Pretty quiet tour otherwise. You got a couple of messages.
What?
One from CB over the teletype. A meeting of all precinct commanders in the lineup room at 2:40, Wednesday, 9 a.m. I left the communication on your desk.
Okay.
A fellow named Fox called twice. He wouldn't give his first name. He wanted your home number. I asked him what it was about. He said it was personal. I didn't give him your number. I told him you were due back on at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. He'll call in.
All right, I'm going upstairs.
Captain.
Yeah?
It was Johnny Farrell who got the information.
Yeah, you told me that.
Did I? Oh, yeah.
Where is Farrell, on post?
No, sir. Lieutenant King said that since it was his line, he could come along when they hit the place. He changed to civilian clothes, and he's upstairs. I put Melito on his post.
All right, I'll check with you later.
Yes.
I left the muster room and headed toward the stairs to the 21st Squad on the 2nd floor. In the back room, the special details from the 19th and 23rd were gathered around in little groups whispering, wondering what their job for the night would be. On the way upstairs, I grinned at the way everyone was so careful to point out that the information on the 3 bank robber escapees came to Patrolman Johnny Farrell. Johnny Farrell had been caught smoking on post by his sergeant the night before. The report was on my desk for disciplinary action. Inside the 21st Squad, 9 or 10 detectives were standing around in small groups. I recognized a few of them as men who worked out of the 21st. The others had been brought in from Detective District Headquarters and from the main office. In a corner near the fingerprint stand, sitting all by himself, was Patrolman Johnny Farrell.
Hi, Captain.
Hi. Hello, Johnny.
Hello, Captain.
Well, looks like a big night.
Yes, sir.
How'd you have to get a line on these boys?
No way in particular. Just threw a kid on the block there, a kid named Wano.
Yeah? Smoke, Johnny?
Thanks. You know, I was going to give him up after last night.
You should.
Thanks. It's kind of hard.
Yeah, it is.
Well, this kid, he's kind of little for his age, 13 or 14. He's not so good with the English. I pulled him out of a scrape last week with 2 bigger boys. They were about to tear him apart. So I've been his best friend on the block since.
Yeah.
Anyway, tonight about 7:30, I saw one on the street. And he said, "Hey, Policia, you, my friend, I got $2 you hold for me, huh? So they don't take it away from me, the big fellas?"
Yeah.
Starts waving $2 bills at me. I said, "Where'd you get it, Wano?" He said, "Oh, I don't steal it, Policia. I don't steal it. I earn it from the mans." I said, "What men?" Told me about the 3 men who were staying in the flat across the hall from him.
Mm-hmm.
Said one of them opened the door when he came out in the hall, asked him how he'd like to make some money. The guy gave him $3, sent him over to Times Square to buy some Philadelphia papers, last week's papers. Well, he brought the papers back. They cost less than $1, and the man told him to keep the rest. I put 2 and 2 together. I saw the alarms, read about the bank robbery up in the Bronx yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, I knew the same three guys had been made in a couple of jobs in Philadelphia. And I knew they broke out of a federal penitentiary. I started asking Wano a few questions about the man. Looked pretty good to me, so I called in. Told Sergeant Klein about it. He connected me with Lieutenant King up here. Guess it looked pretty good to him, too. He told me to come in and bring Wano, and that's it.
Where's this kid, Wano?
Oh, well, Lieutenant King didn't want him on the block tonight. The lieutenant was going up to the stadium with his brother. His brother works for Con Ed.
Yeah.
When this came up, he couldn't go. So he had his brother take the kid on the other ticket. Wano thought that was a great idea.
I do, too. How'd they make sure it's the right three?
Well, after Lieutenant King talked to Wano for a while, he sent one of his men over and got the super of the building and somebody else, another neighbor, in here. Super'd gotten a good look at one of them, so it's definite.
Good. Good work, Johnny. I understand you're going along when we hit the place.
You bet.
Okay, I'm going in to talk to Lieutenant King. Who's that in there with him?
That's a super captain. I think he's getting a layout of the building, you know.
Yeah. All right, I'll see you. And, do your smoking at the right time, will you?
Yeah, Captain. Sure.
Oh, Matt.
Oh, hello, Captain. Come in. Want to shut the door?
Yeah.
This is Mr. Albert Acosta, Captain Tonelli.
All right, glad to know you.
How are you?
Mr. Acosta's the super for both 609 and 611.
Yeah, that's right.
We're just going over the layout of the buildings in that flat.
They're in 611?
Yeah, that's right, on the top floor. Fourth floor rear.
Let's see if I got this straight now. Both 609 and 611 are four-story buildings. The building to the east, 613, is 5 stories.
Yeah, that's right, but that's not my building, 613.
Does the fire escape, do all the fire escapes go all the way up to the roof, Mr. Acosta?
Oh, yeah, that's right, up to the roof and down to the ground.
And from the window of the flat they're in?
Yeah, that's right.
Your roofs are on the same level?
The same level, yeah. They're both 4 stories.
What separates the two buildings on the roof?
Oh, a little brick wall, this high.
3 feet high?
Oh, 3 feet, 3.5 feet, something.
And the roof to 613?
That's not my building.
But it's 5 stories high.
Yeah, 613.
Then, in other words, from the roof of 611, you can't get to the roof of 613. There's a wall 10 or 12 feet high.
Yeah, that's right, 10, 12, 14 feet, something.
No windows in that wall?
Let's see, no windows.
Anything on your roof?
Oh, nothing, television area.
All right, Mr. Costa. I want to talk to you again later. You hungry? You want something to eat?
Could I get a can of beer?
Well, the luncheonette we take from doesn't have beer.
Oh. All right, coffee. Coffee and a Danish.
Whitey, take care of Mr. Costa, will you? Send down for what he wants to eat.
Right.
That detective over there will take care of you, Mr. Costa.
Okay, glad to know you, Captain.
Yeah, same here. Well, how does it look, man?
Sam, there's no doubt about it. In addition to the kid and the super, we found 3 people who made the pictures.
All of them?
No, just one. Just one goes out in the street, but one's good enough for me. This one. Carl Ross. If he's identified and there's 2 more guys in the flat, it's got to be the others.
Whose flat is it? Did they rent it?
No, it belongs to a couple of sisters, Marie and Lois Dunny. Acosta says they've been living there for 3 or 4 years. The one sister, Marie, has been in Bellevue Hospital for months, 6 weeks, alcoholic ward.
Oh.
They're young, too, in their 20s. The other sister, Lois, is still living there. Acosta says he thinks she works as a waitress someplace, doesn't know where.
Is she up in the flat now?
Beats me, Captain. Nobody has gone out or come in since we got onto this thing. Got the place staked out. 2 neighbors that know her with the officers. They haven't seen her.
Well, how about Bellevue? Is she down visiting her sister?
Well, we checked that out, too. Got a man there.
Well, how are you going to hit him?
There's 3 rooms in that flat. It's in the back of the building and on the top floor. These boys are tough. There's no question about that. They had 2 guns apiece when they hit that bank. They roughed up a lot of people around Philadelphia. They were doing 25 years each when they broke. They're not going to sit still for a collar. It's going to be a hot one.
Well, if they're on the top floor, you can't put anyone on the roof of 611. They'll be heard walking around.
I know. We'll have men on the roofs of 609 and 613 in case they come up the fire escape.
Well, that's the way they'll probably go when they hear the law at the front door. Who's going to hit the door?
Myself, Johnny Farrell, if he wants to.
He'll want to.
And 1 or 2 others.
Including me?
Yes, sir. I've got 2 men from the emergency squad detailed. They'll be there with access to working the door if they give us a fight.
All right. What time?
I figure 4 a.m. There'll be less people on the street and less people up and around in the building. Also, these guys might be sound asleep by then. If we can nail them when they're asleep, or at least sleepy, there's not so much chance of fireworks.
How about your notifications?
They're all made. The brass will start streaming in here about midnight.
There's 6 or 8 cops from the 19th and 23rd. They're in the back room now.
Yeah, I know. How much of the show did you get to see? It's a shame you... Come in.
Lieutenant, Whitey says the Theo is on 3. He wants to talk to you.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
21st Squad, Lieutenant King.
Hey, Lieutenant.
Yeah, Dee.
We got the girl at Lois Denny. We got her as she was walking into the house.
Good, Dee. Fine.
It's not so fine, Lieutenant. She told me they were expecting her home at 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock at the latest. Shall I bring her in, Lieutenant?
No. Where are you?
I'm using the phone in Mix's funeral chapel around the corner.
Who's there?
Just Mix. Mrs. Slum.
Okay, Dee. Stay there. We'll be right over. We got trouble, Captain.
Oh?
They've got the girl. Ross and them expect her back in the flat no later than 11.
You can't wait until 4 a.m., Matt. You'll have to hit right away, as soon as possible.
What about all the brass? They've been notified for 4 a.m.
We can't wait, Matt. We'll notify them again. That's all. It's been moved up.
Okay. Whitey, Ben, Al. Come in here, huh? All right, now listen. We're making a change. We've got to move and move quick. Got to hit them as soon as possible. Ben, get hold of ESD.
You are listening to 21st Precinct, a factual account of the way the police work in the world's largest city. A new... Now back to 21st Precinct and Captain Frank Kennelly.
Although we knew hardly more than her name, Lois Dunny had become the key to the situation. The fugitives expected her to return by 11 p.m. If she didn't show up, they might suspect she'd been apprehended. Lieutenant King got his detectives ready to spring immediately. I gave final instructions to the uniformed officers who were going to assist. And then together we drove up 2nd Avenue to Mix's funeral chapel.
Okay, this is good. Captain?
Go ahead, man.
Find a place to park and walk on back here.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, great place to start out from, Undertaker.
Better to start out from there, man.
He's got a point.
Go ahead.
At least it's air conditioned.
There they are, back in the office.
Not a bad-looking head.
No, not too bad.
Hello, Dave.
Hello, Lieutenant. Captain. Hi, Dave. This is Lois Dunny.
How are you?
Hello.
You're in a big jam. You know that, don't you, miss?
Yes, I suppose so.
No supposing about it, you are. That's Carl Ross up in your apartment, isn't it?
Yes.
And the others?
I showed you the pictures of all of them, Lieutenant. She identified them.
I wasn't doing anything wrong. I just rented out some rooms to those boys for a little money. Anybody's entitled to make a little money.
Not that much.
How much?
They've been there 3 days. They've already given her $275. Didn't you know who they were?
No.
Now, don't lie to us. You knew who they were. They knew you, or at least one of them did. Which one?
I didn't know them.
Now, look, come off it. I told you were in a jam. If you don't start telling us the truth, you'll be in a bigger jam. I'm not kidding. Now, how about it?
Who are you anyway? I gotta know who I'm talking
My
to.
name is Lieutenant King. This is Captain Kennelly. That good enough for you?
I've been telling you the truth.
Listen, you're a pretty bad liar. I'm going to tell this officer to take you downtown. Steve, float her in the car.
Matt, wait a minute. Look, miss, you're not doing yourself a bit of good. All we want is the truth. You tell us the truth, and I'll see that you get every break you're entitled to. Which one did you know, Lois?
Carl. I knew Carl.
For how long?
I worked in Pittsburgh a while, a couple of years ago. I knew him then. But I didn't know he was anything like what he is. Honest, I didn't. Not then.
When did you hear?
After he got in trouble, I was back in New York. Somebody wrote me. One of my friends.
If you have time to wait, the facts eventually will develop. But we had neither time to wait nor time to waste. There are 2 ways to get information quickly. One is to be stern, the other is to be full of sympathy. Most often, a lying witness will turn to the friendly officer and tell him exactly what he wants to know.
Haven't heard from him in years, but one day there he is. He just turns up in the cafe where I work. There he is.
By himself?
Yeah, by himself then.
When was that?
Last Tuesday. I read about him and about how he and those others broke out of there and what they did in Philadelphia and all that.
Weren't you scared?
No, not too. I told you, when I knew him in Pittsburgh, he seemed like a very nice boy. He was very nice to me.
Did you ask him anything about that?
Yeah, sure. Naturally. And he said that everybody had him and his friends wrong. They didn't mean any harm. Well, I mean, you know, he's good looking. He likes to spend money.
How'd they come to stay in your flat?
That was the first thing he asked me. Did I know where he and his friends could get a place? Well, my sister's been in the hospital, and I had a big place all by myself. So I told Carl, I told him, if you want to, I've got a big place with an extra bedroom and all that, and a sofa in the living room. So they said, okay, and that was that.
How'd they know you wouldn't go to the police?
I don't know. Carl vouched for me with the others, I guess. They paid me all this money, and they promised to give me $500 more when they left. I guess they figured I wanted the $500.
You did, too, didn't you?
Well, I mean, my sister was in the hospital. I didn't have a nickel except what I made, sure.
They expect you home at 11 o'clock?
Around 11, yeah.
Why 11?
Well, this is my late night on. I work until 10. Carl knows that.
You ever see any guns up there?
Well,
Did you, Lois?
yes, they've got guns.
How many?
I don't know, honest, plenty. But I never counted them. I was too scared to get near them. I don't like guns.
Have you got your key to the place?
Yeah, I got it, but it won't do you any good. They keep the door bolted from the inside all the time. Listen, Carl told me, he said no matter what, he wasn't going back. The others, too. They said they'd die on the spot first and kill anybody who wants to argue with them about it. Cops, they meant.
Yeah, I figured that's who they meant.
In another few minutes of interrogation, we had all the information we needed about the interior of Lois Dunny's flat and what we could expect to find there. Lois Dunning was taken to the precinct house in the custody of a detective. Meanwhile, nearly 50 uniformed officers and detectives assigned to the detail were given their posts and told of their duties. 4 men were assigned to the roofs of 609 and 613. 8 men were posted in various places in front of and across the street from 611. 4 men were assigned to the rear courtyard behind 611. Men from the Emergency Service Division set up a portable generator floodlight on the roof directly across the rear courtyard of 611 so that the entire fire escape could be spotlighted. Another such unit was held in readiness for use in front of the house. Besides their service revolvers, these men were issued such additional arms as their particular situation called for. Submachine guns, riot guns, and tear gas. Lieutenant King, myself, Johnny Farrell, 2 other detectives from the 21st Squad, 3 men from ESD, 2 carrying axes, another a submachine gun, led the way into 611. Behind us followed a half-dozen or so other officers. As we walked up the dim-lit stairs, 2 men dropped off on each floor to block any attempted escape and to keep curious tenants out of harm's way. 2 more were left at the top of the stairs in the 4th floor hallway. The rest of us walked to the 4th floor rear. We stopped at the door. We listened. The radio was on inside. Okay.
Who is it, Lois?
We're police officers. Open up.
It's cops to the east. Open up, police officers.
Knock it in. Use those axes.
Right, come on.
The lock. Hit the lock. Let go. Push it in. Come on, let's go. In the living room. There they are.
Give up. We're through.
Hold it. All right, throw that stuff. There they are. Nail them, Johnny.
There we are, cop.
Chief. Yellow's on. How about it? I'm set. Let's go.
There they are. Get him. Hold him. Pull him out. You lousy.
Chief, bring that brownie up here. Get him. You hit 2. Let's go. There's the other one. Out the window. Hold up. Hold up, Ross. Up the fire escape, Captain. Let's go. Watch it, Matt.
Clear away, cop.
You okay, Matt? Yeah, I'm okay. Come on. Watch it up there, men. One's on his way up. Just one. I see him, Matt. Duck. He's on the roof. Come on.
There he goes. He's on the roof. I see him. He's going for the ventilator.
Where is he? Beats me.
There he is. Behind the ventilator. Behind the ventilator.
Let's get him. What do you say, Ross? What do you say?
All right. Too many of you. Too many of you.
Throw that gun out here. All right, you men. Put your light on the ventilator. That's fine. That's it. Throw it out here, Ross.
All right. Here it comes.
Okay, let's go. Watch him. We should have another one. Stand there, Ross. Get up again, sir.
All right. Take it easy. Nothing on him.
Too many of you. There's too many of you.
Maybe. But now at least there's 3 less like you.
The toll was heavy. 2 of the 3 fugitives were dead on the floor of the living room. Ross had a bullet through his shoulder. They weren't the only ones. Detective Carmine DeFeo, 21st Squad, dead. Patrolman John Farrell, 21st Precinct, wounded. 45 slug in the left hip. Patrolman Ezra Davis, Emergency Service Squad number 4, wounded. 38 slug through the left hand. The medical examiner and ambulances were summoned. The top command of both the uniformed and detective divisions came to the scene. At 2:15 a.m., I arrived back at the station house. There, I approved the unusual occurrence report and checked on the notification of the relatives of the wounded personnel under my command. At 2:35 a.m., conferences were held in my office with the top commanders of the department in connection with a special report concerning the incident. Subsequently, the press sought additional material and photographs. At 3:50, I signed the blotter and left the precinct house. Deputy Chief Inspector DeAndrea gave me a ride as far as Kew Gardens. There, I got a cab and went home. At 4:40 a.m., I unlocked the front door of the house as quietly as I could manage. I walked through the living room into the bedroom.
Frank?
Yeah, honey?
Oh, what time is it?
Late.
Are you tired?
Yep, kind of.
You know what?
What?
You missed a very exciting show.
Yeah, honey. I bet I did.
21st Precinct, Sergeant. Where do you need an ambulance? 822? Is that in the building or on the street? What apartment number? What's the trouble there? How was he hurt? Was he stabbed?
The incidents portrayed tonight on 21st Precinct occurred last year. Names were changed to protect the interests of persons involved. 21st Precinct is presented with the official cooperation of the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association of the City of New York. Everett Sloan in the role of Captain Kennelly, Ken Lynch as Lieutenant King. Featured in tonight's cast were Joan Loring and Barbara Weeks, Lawson Zerby, Bill Lipton, Wendell Holmes, and Mandel Kramer. Written and directed by Stanley Niss, produced for CBS Radio by John Ives. Art Hanna speaking. This is the CBS Radio Network.
Soon for the day tour.
Captain,
Yes?
could I talk to you, Captain, please?
Well, you're Mrs. Rostek, aren't you?
Yes, Mrs. Crofton.
Well, it's been a long time. You still got the store?
Oh, yeah. Sure, I got it. When Joe died, I thought maybe I'd sell it, but I couldn't get nothing for a little store like that. I got the store. How much could 5 cents candy, 10 cents sodas mean in newspapers?
Well, what can I do for you, Mrs. Rostek?
It's my boy, George. You remember my boy, George?
Yes.
He got arrested.
Where?
Here, upstairs, the detectives.
What for?
Captain,
Yes?
they're about to turn out. Do you want to talk to them?
Yes, I'll be right there.
Oh, you're busy, Captain.
Oh, you sit right down here, Mrs. Rostek. I'll be back.
Oh, yes, sure, Captain, sure.
I walked out into the muster room and stood behind the desk. The bell rang. In marched the platoon for the day tour. Patrol sergeant brought them to a halt. He reported the platoon inspected. The desk officer ordered the roll call.
Martin. Rifkin. Rose. Shaw. Sutton. Thompson. Savastino. Zollet. Captain wants to talk to you.
Well, a couple of things, men. We've had an alarm from the Harlem Valley State Hospital. An escaped mental case. His name is Lester C. Trey, age 58, 5 feet 10 and a half inches, 165 pounds. Gray hair, blue eyes, light complexion, medium build, and he walks with a slight limp in his right leg. They say this fellow used to hang out in bar and grills on 2nd Avenue in the 70s before he was confined. You sector men and you men on post there, keep your eyes out for him. Now, I don't like to talk about this. I'm not going to mention any names because I don't want to embarrass anybody. But get your house tax paid up. Those of you who are delinquent will have forthwith sent to your home. All right, Sergeant. Post the platoon.
Platoon, stand, hot. Left, face. Forward, hot.
The men who would patrol the precinct on foot and in cars for the next 8 hours walked out the door and onto the street. I looked over entries in the blotter. Then I walked back around the desk toward my office where Mrs. Rustek was waiting.
21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein. All right, 671.
All right, Mrs. Rustek.
Oh, I don't want to take up your time, Captain.
That's what I'm here for. What was your boy arrested for?
I don't know. Robbery.
Tell me what happened.
I was asleep 2 or 3 o'clock this morning. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was knocking on the door. I thought George. I thought he forgot his key. It was 2 men, not policemen, detectives.
Yeah.
They said, "Where's George?" I said, "I don't know. He isn't home yet. He sleeps on the couch. He isn't home." And they said, "Could we wait?" And I didn't want them there, but I said, "All right."
Mm-hmm.
Then they want to look at George's things. I don't know. I told them I got no right to show them. Ask George. All right, they said. And pretty soon George come home. Maybe 3:30, 4 o'clock. There wasn't any trouble. No trouble.
Okay.
George showed them his things, and they said it would be better to come here and talk. George said, "Go back to sleep. I'll be home right away." I thought they just wanted to talk, so I went back to sleep.
Who told you he was being held for robbery?
I woke up and he wasn't there, so I came here and asked. The man out there, he said...
The desk lieutenant?
Yeah, the lieutenant. He said, "Go upstairs to the detective."
Or was George upstairs?
Yeah, in a little office with one of the detectives who came last night. They were still talking. I went in and I said, "What did you do, George?" He told me, "Go home, Mark. Get out of here."
What was the name of the detective who arrested him?
Oh, it's Toomey Tucci something. I don't know.
How old is George?
17 in January.
He was 17 or he will be
No,
17?
he was in January.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Captain. They came, they took him. He's a good boy. He goes to school. He works after.
Let me see what I can find out.
Yes, sir.
Give me Lieutenant King upstairs, will you?
Yes, sir.
He's a good boy. He wouldn't do anything like robbery.
21st Squad, Detective Tully.
This is Captain Kennelly. Is Lieutenant King around?
No, sir, I don't expect him back until 11:30 or 12.
Oh. Listen, Tully, whose squeal is that?
That's
George
him.
Rostek
Tully.
being held for robbery.
It's my squeal, Captain.
Oh. Well, what's it look like?
We've got him made in 3 muggings. The last one was about 1 o'clock this morning.
Definitely him?
We had the man's wallet in his pocket when we arrested him. The man's in the hospital with 2 broken ribs and a kick in the face. There was another wallet in the lady's pocketbook in his drawer at home. Those are the other 2.
What does George say?
Nothing, Captain. He's about the meanest, surliest kid I've seen all year. He won't tell me the right time of day.
What are you going to do with him?
We're waiting for the other victims, the man and the woman. When they get here, we'll have a lineup, and we'll take them down to court. Any particular reason you're interested, Captain?
Well, his mother's here.
Oh, yeah. He wouldn't even say hello to her when she was upstairs. She's had her hands full with that one, all right.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Tully.
Anytime, Captain.
Yes, he's charged with robbery, Mrs. Rostek.
I don't believe it. I don't.
I say he mugged 3 people.
Mugged? What's mugged?
Beat them up and robbed them on the street. One last night. He's still in the hospital.
Not my George. I don't believe it.
He's been in trouble before, hasn't he?
He's a good boy, Captain. A very good boy. What are they going to do? What happens now?
Well, they'll take him down to court this morning.
Not for a trial.
No, to felony court for a hearing to set bond.
He needs a lawyer?
Wouldn't be a bad idea.
Oh, I don't know a lawyer. Do you know somebody, Captain?
I can't recommend anyone, Mrs. Rostek.
Oh, Mrs. DePronio from the hardware store. Her oldest boy is a lawyer. I'll ask her. Oh, what time in court? Where?
Well, I've got to get through here first, but they'll go to felony court, 100 Center Street, in the criminal courts building.
You sure it's not the trial? They won't send him away?
All it's for is to set bail.
Oh, how much does bail cost?
You'd better get your lawyer, Mrs. Rostek. You can ask him all about that.
Oh, all right. I don't know, Captain. I've raised him good. I sent him to school and to church. It's been hard since I buried his father, but I sent him. He's a good boy.
You get your lawyer.
I know you're very busy, Captain. Just one more thing. You know me, you know Joe a long time. 10, 12 years, I don't know. I do my best for him, Captain, my best.
Yes, I'm sure you do.
Please, one favor.
If I can.
Go upstairs. Talk to him. Say something to George. Ask him why. I want to know why he did this. I can't ask him. I can't. He needed money. I don't know.
Well, that case is not in my hands, Mrs. Lustig.
Please, Captain, please.
All right. I'll talk to him. Come in.
Captain,
Yes?
Patrolman Farrell has your car outside, Captain. He wants to know whether you're going to patrol any this morning. If not, he'll take it down to motor maintenance, have him look at a sticky valve.
Oh, well, excuse me, Captain.
Yes. Thanks for stopping in, Mrs. Lustig.
Just talk to George. You'll see. He's a good boy. He's a very good boy.
That's all right.
Bye. Oh, what'd you say about my car, Sergeant?
Farrell's got it outside, sir. If you're not going to patrol this morning, he'll drive down to motor maintenance and have him look at that sticky valve.
Well, I was off all day yesterday. Why didn't you take it down there?
Beats me, Captain.
Well, you tell him to... Oh, just a second, yes. 21st Precinct, Captain Kennelly. Who? Oh, hello, Eddie. Yeah, sure. I got it down on my calendar. Wednesday, 4 p.m., Clinton Playground, softball field, Comets versus Eagles. The roof doesn't fall in on us. I'll be there to see at least part of the game. I'd sure like to. Thanks for calling to remind me, Eddie. Okay. Tell Farrell to come in here and talk to me about the car.
Yes.
Oh, and there's a communication from the Chief Inspector's office.
Yes, sir.
We're getting 3 brand new rookies for the night tour today. Tell McCarty I want Sergeant Burns to put them on 6 posts tonight. Put them someplace he can keep an eye on them.
Yes, sir, right away.
My operator, Patrolman Johnny Farrell, came inside, and I told him to drive down to Motor Maintenance Service Station number 1 at 16th Street and Avenue C and get the valve repaired. I finished up the morning's paperwork and looked over the departmental records of the 3 new rookies who would report at 4 p.m. for the night tour. At 10 o'clock, I walked upstairs to the 21st Detective Squad to keep my promise to Mrs. Lustig. Most of the men were out, as they should have been, making investigations on squeals assigned to them. The on-duty detective sat at his desk, typing out a UF-61 report. A woman, obviously a narcotics addict, was on the bench in a corner waiting for detectives of the narcotics squad to come and talk to her. The door to Lieutenant King's office stood half open. Detective Jim Tully, who was inside, saw me come into the room and walked out to greet me.
Hello, Captain.
How are you, Tully?
Dragging. No sleep.
I promised the mother I'd talk to that Rostek boy. I've known her for years.
You can talk to him, Captain, but he won't say anything to you. I know kids. I like kids. I got one of my own, his age, but this one, brother.
Well, what does he say about these deals?
He's not even sorry. He'd do it again. If you can figure him, Captain, you win the prize. He tried to pull away from me. I had to put the cuffs on him.
You talk to your lawyer, man.
Oh, hello, Matt. I didn't think you were here.
Just got back, Captain.
Close this, Lieutenant. Yeah, go ahead. His mother asked me to talk to him.
Sure.
Hello, George.
If you're another cop, I don't want to talk to you. I've talked to enough cops.
Now, listen, you're not in here to do what you want to do.
Okay, Jim. I'm not in here because I want to be, either. George, this is Captain Kennelly. He's the commanding officer of this precinct.
So? And I'm a friend of your mother's.
What's that supposed to get you? Listen, boy, you're looking at a rough deal. There's no sense making it any rougher. Well, what else could I make it? What do you want, mister? I told you I talked to enough cops.
I've known your mother for 10 years, George, and I knew your father. Good, hard-working people.
That's the trouble with them. Slobs. Nothing but slobs, not a brain in their heads. He's dead, and he's just as smart now as he was before.
You think you're so smart?
Well, the 3 of you standing around trying to find out something from me, aren't you?
We don't have to find out anything from you, boy. We've got you right. You mugged 3 people on the street in this precinct alone. We found that one man's wallet in your pocket.
I picked it up in the subway. He lost it.
Did he? Well, tell me how you got the property that belonged to the other 2. How did that wind up in your drawer?
How should I know? This guy put it there to get something on me.
Now, listen. You weren't happy enough taking the money from them. You had to knock them down and kick them all over the sidewalk. You're the one kind of guy we don't want around here, George. We're bringing every mugging victim in from the 19th and 23rd to have a look at you, boy. And if what I think is true, we'll just about clear the books.
Sure, clear them all up.
17 years, and you've already done more damage than the average guy we get in here. We're doing 70. You're no juvenile anymore. You can get the book thrown at you, George, and I'm going to help do the throwing.
See, Captain, you can get back and tell my mother how nice they treat me around here. Give her a written report.
Why don't you be sensible about this thing, George? Get it straightened out. Be a little help.
Help for what?
Come in.
Whitey's back with the victims, Lieutenant.
The woman, too?
Yes, sir, he's here.
All right, let's have a lineup. Who've we got?
There's a couple of fellas, 18 or 19, down in the cells, car thieves.
All right, get them up here. Give them a hand getting it set up, Jim.
Yeah, Lieutenant, you bet.
Where's Whitey?
What happens, huh? What gives now? Look, Captain, if you're a friend of my mother's, tell him to take these bracelets off, huh? Look at this. They got me chained to the chair like an animal. Look at that.
Would you rather be locked up? They'll come off when you settle down.
We can take them off now, Captain.
What is this, a new deal?
The people you kicked around and robbed are here, George. We're going to have a party.
Yeah?
You're the guest of honor.
The purpose of a criminal investigation is to arrive at the truth through the accumulation of evidence. Because a police officer is at the scene of a crime only in rare instances, he cannot depend upon his own direct knowledge for the truth. In cases of robbery and assault, the greatest amount of help in arriving at the truth comes from victims and witnesses who can usually identify the assailant on sight. The process of identification is very exact and painstaking for two reasons. First, to protect the suspect against erroneous identification if he is innocent, and second, to establish the fact beyond all question if he's guilty.
Come in.
We're all set for the lineup, Lieutenant.
Where are the witnesses, Jim?
Across the hall.
Hold them there for a minute, I'll tell you.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to stay around for this, Captain?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, man.
All right, George, on your feet.
Why?
Get up. Now, look, we're going out in the squad room. There's a couple more fellows we're holding out there. They and you and two young detectives are going to line up. And this woman, this Mrs. Brown, and the man, Mr. Clayman, are going to come in one at a time. They were both mugged on the street. What we want to see is, can they pick out the one who mugged them?
It's a frame-up. It's all fixed.
Is it? I guess it was all fixed that you had Mrs. Brown's pocketbook and Mr. Clayman's wallet at your house.
Well, that's possible, isn't it?
Look, George, the truth has to come out. Why don't you save everybody a lot of time and trouble?
Why don't you save your advice?
All right, come on. Okay, let's have the lineup.
Yes, sir. All right, you boys, step over here. Over here. Come on.
Well, what do you say, George? You can't duck it if you're the boy.
Come on, George.
All right, get lined up over here like I showed you.
Dolly.
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Come here.
All set, Lieutenant.
There's one or two more men to stand up there. I don't want any mistake about this.
Whitey, Max, give us a hand with this, will you? Right. One of you on each end. All right. Keep it quiet.
Okay, George, this is your party. Get wherever you like.
Oh, what difference does it make?
Go on, pick your spot.
It's all a put-up job anyway.
Great kid, Captain.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
21st squad.
Now stand up straight and don't jabber.
Hold on. Captain Kennelly phoned for you.
All right. Excuse me, man.
Yeah, sure, Captain.
We're about set, Lieutenant.
Okay. Captain Kennelly.
Sergeant Klein, Captain.
All right, Whitey, bring
Mr.
Mrs. Brown here.
Arsenal from the Corporation
Stand still in
Council.
line there.
Yeah?
He wants some information about a woman who fell down the subway stairs on April 6th and has a claim against the city pending.
Well, did you get out the aided case card?
Yes, sir. He wants to talk to the officer who was on the job and to you.
Open that door over there.
Oh, well, who was the patrolman?
Eisman, sir. He worked a late tour last night.
All right, Sergeant. Tell Mr. Arsenal to wait in my office. I'll be downstairs in a few minutes.
Yes.
All right, come in, Mrs. Brown.
Yes, sir.
Come off this way, please.
This won't take long, will it? I have an appointment.
No, I don't think so.
At the beauty parlor.
This is Captain Kennelly, Mrs. Brown.
How do you do?
Hello.
I'm Lieutenant King.
Hello.
You see those men standing over there, Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Could you identify any of them as the man who robbed you?
Oh, well, it's an awful thing.
I want you to be sure. I don't want any mistakes.
Oh, there won't be any mistake. I'll be sure.
I want you to look them all over good, every one of them.
All right.
Look them over twice if you have to.
Keep quiet.
If you see the one, tap him on the shoulder.
And now?
Yes, now.
All right. I see.
Tap him on the shoulder.
This one.
Who are you, kid?
He's the one, all right.
All right, hold them. The other victim is here, too.
All right, the rest of you.
All right, what do you think this is? Quiet down.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself, young man. Do you know that? I had a cut in my forehead. My back was sore for a week. A week.
What do you want me to do? Break down and cry?
That wouldn't be a bad idea, George. I'd think a lot more of you if you did.
After the second victim had identified George Rostek as his assailant, I left the detective squad and walked down the stairs through the back room to my office. Mr. Arsenal of the Corporation Counsel's office of the City of New York was waiting. He explained to me that a woman who slipped on the subway stairs was making what appeared to be an unfounded claim for damages against the city. I arranged for the patrolman who answered the original call to give his immediate and full cooperation to the Corporation Counsel's office. Meanwhile, the robbery suspect, George Rostek, had been taken by detectives to New York Hospital, where he was also identified by his latest victim. I was still at my desk when Detective Tully returned from the hospital with George Rostek with instructions to book the suspect on 3 charges of robbery and assault. The act of booking is the first step in the judicial process leading to trial. The charges and the circumstances of the arrest are entered in the arrest record by the desk officer in the muster room. I sat at my desk and watched the procedure through the open door of my office.
Rostek, H-R-O-S-T-E-K, George. Any middle initial? No. No middle initial. Age? 17. Occupation? What are you, a student, George? When I work at it. Student. Robbery and assault, 3 times. He's going down to 240 to be mugged and printed and then to felony court. Yeah. Let's see what you got on you, George. Handkerchief. Comb. 50, 70... 78.
It happened faster than it can be told. A citizen, a woman, had opened the front door leading to the street, apparently to make some inquiry or register a complaint. She held the door open while talking to a friend who remained on the sidewalk. The 17-year-old suspect saw his chance and made a break for the door. We were all out the door and onto the crowded street a few feet behind him, but he was young and fast, and he knew the neighborhood. He ran across the street, down the block, and disappeared between buildings. Within minutes, there were over 30 uniformed officers and detectives on the job. The search continued late into the afternoon. No luck. An alarm was put out by CB to every precinct in the city of New York. The store, owned by his mother, and the flat in which they lived were both put under surveillance. Detectives were sent to talk to all his known friends. By 6:15, when I signed the blotter and left the precinct to go off duty, there was still no sign of him. Nor was there when I called in twice that night and 3 times the next morning. When I came back on the job at 3:45 in the afternoon, Lieutenant King was waiting in the muster room for me.
Hello, Captain.
Oh, Matt, you look deep.
I am.
No sign of him, huh?
Nothing. I want to talk to you about it, Captain.
Yeah, sure.
We think the mother knows where he is.
Yeah? Hello, Sergeant.
Captain? 21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein.
Yeah.
All right. 9-8.
Well, what's doing, Sergeant?
Nothing much, sir. A few messages. I left them on your desk.
Thanks.
We're sure she knows where he is.
Did you talk to her?
Yes, sir. She's a pretty bad liar, but keeps on lying.
He's not in the house or the store?
I've had men watching both ever since.
Well, a lot of people go in and out of that store.
That's the point, Captain. Somebody that went in knows where George is and told her.
What do you want me to do? Talk to her?
Yes. You've known her a long time. Maybe she'll open up with you.
Sure, Matt. I'll talk to her. There's nothing to lose.
Nothing, Captain. Nothing except sleep. We've all lost plenty of that already.
I signed the blotter, read the communications and reports, and turned out the platoon for the night tour. At 4:45, I had Patrolman Farrell drive me over to 2nd Avenue to the small candy store run by Mrs. Rostek. I got out of the car and told him to wait. As I crossed the sidewalk, I spotted Detective Jim Tully standing in the doorway 100 feet or so down the block. He'd been on the job 48 hours straight. It was his prisoner. He wanted him back. Hello, Mrs. Rostek.
Captain. Hello.
Well, it looks like George is in more trouble.
He's a good boy, Captain. I tried. I did my best. It's not my fault.
Nobody's blaming you.
A soda? Would you like a soda?
No, thanks.
I'll take one. It's hot out.
Where is he, Mrs. Rostek?
I don't know. Not even a glass of water?
No.
I'll have something myself. Chocolate's nice the way I make it. George, I don't know. Maybe I didn't raise him right. Maybe I don't give him what he needs. When Joe was alive, maybe I spent too much time in the store with Joe and not enough raising George. Now, since I buried Joe, I have not even as much time for George. Well, he was in trouble, sure. Kid trouble. Just kids fooling around. But I try. You can't say I don't try. And I love him. He's a good boy.
Lieutenant King tells me he thinks you know where he is.
No, I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know.
It's in the neighborhood someplace, isn't it?
I don't know.
Hello, Mrs. Roxy. Have you got Movie Glamour magazine?
Right in back of your top shelf movie glamour.
Where?
Top shelf, you see.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Can I have 2 dimes and a nickel and change, Mrs. Roxy? Here's the telephone.
Yes, sure.
They find George?
No, not yet.
Oh, excuse me.
That's all right.
Oh, well, I'll use the telephone. And don't you worry about him, Mrs. Roxy. He's smart. They won't get here.
Yes. Very smart. Me, too. I'm very smart. Are you sure no soda, Captain?
Positive.
An ice cream, then?
No?
You tell me, Captain. You tell me what's best.
If we don't get him soon, Mrs. Rostick, he's finished. He's young and he's got a chance to get straightened out. A good chance to get straightened out. If we don't get him, he can't do anything but get worse and worse.
The good boy is very good.
Worse and worse. So bad he'll never get straightened out. There'll be more muggings. He'll get a gun. He'll kill somebody or get killed himself.
Himself? No.
That's the way it'll be. The next charge will be murder.
The line was busy.
So wait and try again.
Oh, they're on the phone all the time. What's the use? No, thank you, Mrs. Roxy. Bye.
Where is he?
I don't know.
You want him to get straightened out, don't you?
I don't know, but he does, don't he?
Yeah?
He's been coming in for money to buy him food. He's hiding in a club room someplace, a club room that the boys have got. I put the money in the magazine, $5.
Thanks, Mrs. Rostick.
Captain,
Yes?
he's a good boy, Joe. A good boy.
I hope he turns out to be. I looked both ways on the street. I saw that the girl had turned north and was walking slowly away from the store. I followed her until I got to the point where Detective Jim Tully was waiting in the vestibule. Jim.
Hello, Captain.
That girl, yellow dress and blonde hair.
Yes, sir?
George is hiding in the clubroom. Stay with her. She'll need you there.
Thanks. Who told you, the mother?
Yep.
I don't get it. She was a clam with us. Why?
Because George is a good boy. Get going. You'll lose her.
Yes, sir.
And so it goes on, around the clock, through the week, every day, every year. A police precinct in the city of New York is a flesh and blood merry-go-round. Anyone can catch the brass ring, or the brass ring can catch anyone.
21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein. Yes, sir. What's the address? 205? 209. Inside? In front of the shoemakers. What's the trouble there? What'd the men have? What kind of a gun?
Incidents portrayed on tonight's 21st
Where did
Precinct
it
occurred
go?
last
How
year.
likely to know
Names
now?
were changed to protect the interests of persons involved. 21st Precinct is presented with the official cooperation of the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, an organization of more than 19,000 members of the Police Department, City of New York. Everett Sloan in the role of Captain Kennelly, Ken Lynch as Lieutenant King. Featured in tonight's cast were Barbara Weeks, Elaine Ross, Linda Watkins, Lawson Zerby, Bob Reddick, and George Petrie. Written and directed by Stanley Niss. Produced for CBS Radio by John Ives. Art Hanna speaking.